So before we move on to our next panel on navigating work-life blend, I would like to take a moment to thank our generous sponsor, Johnson & Johnson, whose generous support has helped us bring this content today. Right before the panel, we're going to show you a quick video from J&J that really demonstrates their commitment to the advancement of women at J&J. So, please.
It starts with a spark of a dream, an idea, a passionate desire to make a difference. The spark is fueled with hope and confidence and support along the way. It's a journey paved with inspiration, aspiration, collaboration, appreciation, validation, and at times, exasperation. Don't fear, don't veer. Obstacles are just opportunities to think differently, act differently, be seen differently. Nothing can dim the spark. Mentors, inventors, innovators, nurturers, leaders, pioneers, you can be what you want to be, lead what you want to lead, create your own world to make our world a better place. Around the globe, around the block, around our office, we at J&J are helping women become leaders who become agents of change, anchors of our family, drivers of our global economy. We are their champions, their partners, fueling dreams, fueling people, fueling the future of human health. It starts with a spark of a dream, an idea, a passionate desire to make a difference. Ignite and see how far a spark can go.
A lot of us are wondering how companies and corporations can do their part to help promote the advancement of women within their organizations and to create more women-inspired workplaces. So beyond preventing sexual harassment, really creating more fairness and equity for women within the ranks of all types of companies. So today we're bringing you a panel we're really excited about navigating work-life blend. Not balance, but blend, because as we know, work-life balance doesn't really exist. So I'm going to introduce our moderator, who will then kick off the panel and introduce our panelists. Please join me in welcoming CNN's Chloe Melas.
Hey everybody. I broke out the pink pants for you guys. Well, so as she said, I'm Chloe Melas, entertainment reporter at CNN. I've covered a lot on the Me Too movement, Time's Up initiative, which is just so incredible and so inspiring. Today on our amazing panel, we have some badass ladies, okay? So we have the CMO of Johnson & Johnson Consumer, Allison Lewis. We have SVP, Chief Diversity Officer of Omnicom, Tiffany R. Warren. And then we also have Rachel Tuckman, an attorney at Kaplan, Hecker & Fink, and she also helped start the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. So thank you all for joining us. Really important topic, and I first want to get a show of hands. How many of you right now feel as though you are not achieving the work-life blend in your life? That's it? I assume every hand is raised. I just want to say, look, I'm a new mom. I have a 13-month-old son at home named Leo, and in the 9 months that I've been back since maternity leave, I just feel like I am not doing it all well. I'm either not giving 100% at home or I'm not giving 100% in the office. But this is not just a panel about working mothers. This is about everyone that feels as though they're not achieving their mental, physical well-being, spending enough time with their four-legged friends, spending enough time in the office. So the first question is obviously for Allison. You oversee brands like Tylenol, Listerine, Johnson's, Neutrogena. What does your blend look like specifically on a daily, weekly basis?
Well, I think the reality is that this whole idea of blend is about defining what's important to you and really being clear on that and drawing the line based on if that's important to you, that's something I'm going to make time for. So I don't do work-life blend perfectly by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm very clear that I want to do a great job at work. I want to do a great job with my 3 boys, and I want to do a great job with myself from a health perspective, which is I want to exercise every day. Those are the only 3 things that I prioritize every day. And I draw lines in the sand around, okay, 7 to 8 is when I'm going to exercise. Okay, can't do dinner with my boys every night of every week, but I can 3 nights a week. Okay, I'm going to accept that. And then work is work. We all know the work that we have to get done, and the challenge is as you do a good job, they give you more, and it keeps going and going. So do I do it perfectly? No. But what I think I've learned is to be comfortable with the choices that you make and not keep second guessing those choices. So the reason I'm not perfect is I should be having dinner with my boys 7 nights a week. Have I missed their soccer games? Have I missed school events? Have I missed, parent-teacher interviews? Absolutely I have. But I'm comfortable with that. And I think until you get comfortable with that, it's really hard to feel comfortable with work-life blend. So it is about drawing those lines and defining what's really important to you and making those happen and stop beating yourself up about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Someone once told me I missed my son's first steps, and they said, well, it's okay, because when he walks for you, that'll be the first time that you saw them. So those are his first steps. Tiffany, you've done some amazing things at Omnicom, launched some incredible initiatives. Reading your bio, I got incredibly tired just looking at it. Do you find that the key to that blend in your life is the art of saying no? Talking about those lines in the sand that Allison talked about?
Well, according to you, if you look at my bio, I don't say no. But no, I do. My team thinks that I don't say no, but I actually do. I think, I'm very much about mantras. So there's a couple that I'll share with you that sort of get me through that crazy bio and my crazy life, because I technically have 2 jobs. So I'm the SVP Chief Diversity Officer for Omnicom Group, but I also founded Ad Color, which is an award show and conference that honors people of color in marketing, advertising, tech, and entertainment. So at any given time, I'm doing both of those 150% of the time. So I think you can have what you want, but you can't have it all. So at this time, I have what I want, which is delving into making sure that that event is the best that it can be. In October, it'll be probably digging in really hard with my family, because coming out of that, I'm going to be crazed. But I will say that I love the solitude of raising my standards, and I raise my standards when it comes to my time. And I really spend the most time with the things that give me the most peace. So the job that I have is a passion, it's not a position. And so spending time digging into the jobs that I have, I don't become overwhelmed, because it doesn't, I know this is crazy, it doesn't feel like work. So I think it drives other people crazy when they see what I do, but I felt that I've been put here. It's a calling to make sure that people feel safe and have a quality in the workplace, so it doesn't feel like work. So my no really comes in the form of maybe I'm not going to do that social thing, but I'm going to fly to Charlotte and spend time with my 3-year-old niece because she gives me peace and joy. So that's how I balance it.
Well, Rachel, I want to talk to you about laws, okay? And you are the attorney here, so I'm hoping that you can answer these questions. But first of all, the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund has raised over $22 million. How amazing
Very
is that? So thank you for helping start that. What can the government do on a legislative level to help facilitate this work-life blend, and what can companies do?
Yeah, certainly. So, the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, even though it was started to address workplace sexual harassment, this panel is really part and parcel of the work that we see ourselves doing, in large part because if women are the ones who are always taking the maternity leave or the family leave or caring for the elders, it means that they're not necessarily always in the workplace promoting to the most senior levels. And every study we've ever seen says that when women aren't in senior positions at companies, there is more sexual harassment. So these issues need to be connected and need to be talked about in a sort of connected basis. Secondly, the advocacy that needs to be sort of put around work-life blend, I think two important points there. Firstly, the advocacy isn't for women who bluntly are like us. We are really in privileged positions where I certainly do not master the art of work-life blend, but I have the opportunities to speak up and advocate for myself and talk to my boss. Time's Up Legal Defense Fund is here for the women who are the hourly wage worker who needs the support to talk to their employer about the fact that they've been working illegal hours that are actually not within the mandates of our government law, but they don't know their rights. And so we're there to tell them that they actually have rights that they need to take advantage of. The rights that exist need to be broadened much further. I think most people in this room know that the United States has some of the most draconian family leave policies for developed nations in this country. That applies to parental leave, pay equity. I really believe that here in this moment right now, that means we need to get out and vote. We're living in scary times for lots of reasons. But if we care about this particular issue, that means we need to make it known in November at the ballot box. And finally, I think the big push that companies and laws need to be looking at is how we engage men in the conversation here. Because it shouldn't be that this work-life balance conversation is a conversation with just women. This affects everyone. And until we make it a family issue and an issue for every type of an employee and employer at a company, it's actually going to fall on women's shoulders more to be the ones taking those leaves and then therefore not advancing in their corporate structure.
Very well said. You know, for me, since joining CNN 2 years ago, I worked just as hard, if not harder than ever, but I find that having a boss that's incredibly flexible with where I work and letting me work from home sometimes and letting me stay late some days or leave early other days has immensely helped my life and my health. I did suffer from ulcerative colitis for 7 years and it's been gone for 2, and I have to say stress played a major role in that. But as people who have others report to them, what are you doing at your companies to make sure that you are personally facilitating this work-life blend? Because I read a scary statistic that 54% of Americans do not use all of their vacation days.
That statistic was really shocking to me. I think what's so important as leaders, and quite frankly, all of us are leaders in some way, shape, or form, whether you have 200 people reporting to you or one person reporting to you, is what I call symbolic leadership. And symbolic leadership is really making sure that you, in that influential position, are showing people that it's okay to do this. So I have a colleague, Dave Crutchfield, who leads the oral care and wound care business, so Listerine and Band-Aid as the big brands you would know. And you know, he's very clear with his team when he needs to reschedule a meeting because he's got a parent-teacher interview with one of his children. And that little gesture of vocally saying that, so not hiding why he's rescheduling the meeting, but publicly talking about why he's rescheduling the meeting, does a lot in terms of giving his team permission. And the thing about symbolic leadership is it actually spreads beyond your team. So others hear that, oh, Dave said he was rescheduling a meeting because of a parent-teacher interview. It's okay to go to a parent-teacher interview. So those symbolic leadership moves are so important and really play a critical role, no matter what we're talking about. If we're talking about, you know, diversity and placing people in the right roles or the right people in the right roles, if we're talking about work-life balance, blend, whatever we're doing, symbolic leadership is critical.
I mean, I think I know that when I started out in advertising as an assistant account executive, you left after your boss left, whatever time that was. If they left at 3, you left at 3:02. If they left at 8, you left at 8:05 because you had to count, okay, how long did it take to get to the elevator? And then will they see me? Maybe the elevator's stuck, it takes a while to, like, this is the stuff you're thinking. This is back in, like, I'm dating myself, but 99. But now it's, you know, managing a team and also a force of volunteers, I do take it upon myself to be the example. And I do it not just in word and deed, but even through my social media. A lot of it is really about time with my family and my friends, and not necessarily, selfies at events, even though they sneak in every now and then, but I'm trying to lead by example. And I also, if we can do it, and this is one of the things that as a collective we should really try, my team is we try to take a retreat after we've had sort of a run of really, really intense work. And so we'll pick some place. One time it was Martha's Vineyard, and we just, for a week, got a house and just vegged out, and talked about like the stuff that we've done and the goals that we want to set for the year ahead. So I think as leaders, you definitely have to lead by example, because I don't want to go back to the day where my team is waiting for me to get to the elevator, and then maybe they run into me in the lobby and they're like, oh, no, we were just taking a coffee break. No, we're going to go back upstairs. Have a good night. You don't want to inspire that kind of fear in your team, because we were talking earlier that the emotional toll that stress takes when your boss is inflexible and doesn't lead by example actually makes you less productive. And so I want the productivity to increase, and so what increases on my end is the flexibility.
Very well said. I want to mention, big news this week. The CEO of Pepsi, Indra Nooyi, stepped down. And I want to read you a quote that she told the New York Times. She said, "You reach a point where you get tired, physically tired, and your family starts to demand more of you. I've reached that point." And she was talking about how stepping down was mainly to take care of her mother. What do you guys think about this having it all that is a myth? Right?
Yeah, it's a good marketing ploy. You can't have it all. I just said earlier, you can have what you want, but you can't, at least I'm gonna speak for myself. I know I can't have it all. Sometimes things suffer. So if I'm really dug in a certain project at work, I have to figure out a way to manage my relationship with my boyfriend. So even now, this is my most intense time. Last night, I took time out to go to the James Beard House and have like an Afro-Caribbean dinner. He's Jamaican. And I was just like, we had the best time ever. That was 3 hours that I put into and invested into my relationship. It made him happy. We had great food. And then I went home. I might have opened up the laptop and did some work. But it's the balance. Like, I feel like you have to make a choice that when you wake up, that you know that you're not going to have it all, but you have what you want. And sometimes, and one of the things that I always say is you can't take everyone with you. So the pressures that you have to be there for your friends and for your parents and for all these other people that depend on you, it's almost like the spokes of a wheel and you're in the middle, and you think this wheel can't go if you're not there, but surprise, it can. There are times when you can take yourself out of the equation to take care of yourself, because taking care of yourself is actually not taking care of yourself is being selfish, because you have to be healthy in order to be there for other people. And so I think that's the balance that I try to think about in terms of when I see storylines on TV or people talk about, or even when I was watching Mad Men, when it's like, you can have it all. It literally, I think, was a marketing ploy. And so now we have to undo that myth and be realistic about the expectations that are on the modern woman and what we need to be healthy.
I think I always talk about you cannot have it all. I fully agree. But you can have it all if you think about times in your life. So going back to Indra, I think that's really interesting in that now is her time to take care of her mother. That's her time. There was a time when I know she probably took care of her children. There was a time when she had to take care of her job. So I look at it as, I told you my 3 things that are my priorities right now. Well, what suffers? My friends actually suffer. I don't spend as much time with them. But I know as soon as my boys are off to college, that will become a moment when I'll spend more time with my friends. And then unfortunately, I know after that, I'm probably going to be helping my parents a lot more because they will be significantly aged by that point in time. So it's sort of recognizing what are those things you can have at points of time, and then making sure throughout your life you do have it all, but not at any one point in time.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about policies that government can do and laws that need to be changed, but there's also sort of how do you structure your home? What can you do in your own home to make it easier to have a work-life blend or something that resembles that? And one thing that you know, my husband and I are certainly imperfect at many things, including a functioning home, and we'll see how it works when we bring this one into it. But one thing that we have tried to do is be really intentional about distribution of tasks so that it doesn't fall on me as just sort of the gendered backdrop. So we actually have a Sunday meeting. I mean, it's like a board meeting at a company, but we have a Sunday meeting. We bring our planners out to the dinner table. We go through what my schedule is going to look like for the week, what his schedule is going to look like for the week, and then I say, okay, well, this looks like a really good week for you to get the dry cleaning and pick up the groceries and do all that, and then my week in 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be gone, so you're going to have to take that shift again too. And breaking that up and being intentional about that in your home, not just being intentional in your workplace and intentional with the laws you're seeking to pass, but that's really one way that you make sure that it's the default isn't you at all times.
My husband's in the audience. Are you down with that? Because I'm down with that a lot. So I'm tired of getting the cat litter. So, you know, someone at CNN, Kate Baldwin, she recently told Cosmo that she was told, and I love this quote, and you just said it, which is, you can have it all, just not all at the same time, which is just wonderful. Serena Williams took to Instagram this week and said, I might be a millionaire, but I am not seeing my 11-month-old daughter very much, and I'm having a really hard week. Do you think that we need to be more honest on social media, that life isn't a perfect sunset every other picture?
Yes. Someone said, which is so good, don't compare your inside self to their outside self. And so I love that, particularly when I look at social media and I see my friend's timeline and I go, no, but that's really their life. But I can't look at someone else's and determine if that's their life or not. People use social media for different reasons. Sometimes it's therapy. Sometimes they work stuff out. They're reaching out. They need help. So I never judge. I try not to. But one thing I do filter out is the unrealistic sort of body expectations and the inflated cosmetic stuff. Like I'm so super happy with all this that God gave me, and sometimes I'm inflated and sometimes I'm deflated in terms of weight, but it's all good. But I don't really look at social media and say that's how my life should be. I actually look at it like I would look at anything, which is entertainment. And sometimes entertainment is not real.
So, you know, something else that I want to talk about is we hear about leaning in, and Sheryl Sandberg wrote a book about it, and you need to lean in when it comes to pay equity. But should we also be leaning in, even if the answer is no, and telling our bosses, I need to go home and walk my dog. I need to go to this dentist appointment and not try to find a dentist that's open at 2 p.m. on Sundays, right? Is it about speaking up, and what would you do if you had an employee come to you and tell you that?
Well, I had a bit of a famous moment probably, because it was 15 years ago, so I was at Coca-Cola, and we'd done some work actually around, it was still called work-life balance then, but how you sort of draw lines. And that was actually my moment around, I'm gonna have dinner with my children. And we were in a meeting with the CEO, long meeting, kept going and going and going, and finally, 6 o'clock hit, and I needed to go have dinner with my kids. So I literally stood up and said, excuse me, I have to go have dinner with my kids. And he quoted that actually from a main stage a couple of months later about how proud he was that an executive had stood up and said in front of a bunch of other big leaders, I'm going home to have dinner with my kids. I'll check in with you guys later if there's anything I need to follow up on. So again, drawing the lines and being clear is super important, and nothing happened to me in my career as a result of doing that.
Yeah, I will say, as someone newer to the workforce and sort of looking at people who are modeling symbolic leadership for me, our firm is the firm that is bringing the lawsuit against the 25 Nazis and white supremacists who organized Charlottesville this weekend, being the one-year reunion. So needless to say, it was grueling hours getting that case together, and sort of 72 hours after Charlottesville happened last year. And there were 2 senior women who are running this litigation at the case, and one of them has 3 little kids, and she was FaceTiming the little kids while we were all in sort of a war room putting together this complaint. And then she just got up and she decided, I'm going to go have dinner. I'm going to be out of pocket from about 5:30 to 7 because I'd like to actually see my littlest one in a bath for the first time in a month. But I promise you I'll be back online starting at 7 and we can get back to work. And I have just kept that in my memory bank since getting pregnant and I've really tried to model for even people younger than me at the law firm. I had a really tough first trimester. I was sick every morning. And you don't see that on Instagram. That's not the part of like the bump pictures that people are profiling, is what's happening in the bathroom before and after the bump picture. And so I really tried to talk openly about how this pregnancy has been and the pros and the cons and how it feels, because I want everyone, I remember how much it meant to me for that senior attorney to model that. And now through going through the pregnancy stage, I really want to model for people at the firm, this is what it's like, and I'm gonna actually go work from home this morning because it's been really tough today.
Well, as we wrap up, I'll say that I remember my first day at CNN, my boss, Megan Thomas, if you're watching, thank you. She walked up to me and she said, I don't know if you're thinking about having children. I don't know what your situation is, but I just want you to know that I support you. And I started to cry because I never had heard anybody speak like this before. She didn't even know me, right? We had never even met. And I just want you to know I support you and I'll help you make that work. Little did she know I was about to start IVF. I had been trying forever to get pregnant. I never thought I would be a mother. And as I went through the grueling process of IVF, she was very flexible with me. So I hope to pay that forward to others as well. As we wrap up, I just want each of you, we'll start with you, give a specific tangible piece of advice that you could give all the ladies today and men watching.
So as I said, you guys are all leaders. Think about the culture that you want to create, because that is what will start to drive the change you want to see.
I said it earlier, the things that give you the most peace should get most of your time. It's pretty simple.
It seems to be my mantra today, but demand more of your male colleagues in the workplace so that you can really try to have a little more slice of having it all.
And my piece of advice would be start asking other women what they make, asking them for advice. Women need to help other women. I have finally started to ask those questions that you don't think that people are ever going to answer, and it really helps you in a professional setting. And thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you.